You wake up. You pick up your phone. You answer messages. You face traffic. You do chores. You feed in haste. And at the end of the day, you ask yourself, where did my time go? Maybe you're not living. Maybe you're just reacting. Most of us walk through life as if we were on an automatic treadmill, reactive to what happens, to stimuli, to opinions, to fears. But there is a breaking point, a silent instant where everything changes, when you stop reacting and start really choosing. This video is an invitation, a call to leave the autopilot and resume the rudder of your existence. Here, through Stoicism, we will explore 7 lessons that tell you not only what to do, but how to be. Because the life you want will not be built with hasty answers, but with conscious choices. You will learn to identify what is yours and what has never been, to silence noises, dominate the mind, and rediscover the purpose. Each part of this series is a window into itself, to the freedom that is born only when we stop living according to the impulses of others. But first, I want you to do something simple and deep. Today I decide to live with courage and wisdom. I am Stoic. Don't just write, declare. That phrase is your anchor. When everything around you tries to pull you out, come back to it. Because real living starts with a decision. And that decision starts now. If you're ready to rebuild, ask for the first lesson. Number 1, the key is inside you. You have looked in the mirror with honesty, without the rush to hide behind social roles, and asked, who am I when the world is not looking at me? This simple and silent question can change the course of a lifetime. It is not easy to do it, because it requires you to stop. And to stop, today, has become one of the most subversive acts that anyone can practice. We live in a time where being busy has become synonymous with value. Whoever runs more, produces more, responds faster, seems more important. But in this hurry lives an uncomfortable truth. We are running away from ourselves, because looking inside can reveal that we are not what we show. And facing this requires courage. Stoicism proposes to us precisely this return, to get out of reactivity and into consciousness. As long as you live trying to control what is outside, your life will be an eternal battlefield. But the moment you look inside, something changes. You cease to be a soldier and become a commander. The transformation does not begin in the world. It begins in the way you interpret it. 2 people can live the same situation and have opposite experiences. The difference is not in the event, but in the lens. Their thoughts are that lens. And so Marcus Aurelius did not speak of thoughts as something banal. He called them the foundation of happiness. You can live in a palace and feel like a prisoner. You can be alone and feel full. You can lose everything and still keep peace. That is not denial of reality. It is mastery over it. External life will provoke you all the time, but the way you respond is your choice. The problem is that you may have confused reaction with response. Reacting is automatic. It is screaming when criticized, hiding when insecure, attacking when afraid. Answering is different. Answering requires pause. And in pause there is power. When you become able to observe your own thoughts without identifying with them all, a new freedom is born. You discover that it is not your anxiety, that it is not your anger, that you can feel all this without being dominated by it. Looking inside is like walking into an abandoned house. At first, it's uncomfortable. There's mess, maybe mold, forgotten things in the corners. But as you clean, reorganize, turn on the lights, realize that there's a home there, and that this home, your inner world, has always been waiting for you. Most people live by adjusting the scenario, changing jobs, city, relationship, as if the change had solved the chaos inside. But the scenario only changes when the soul repositions. While you do not reconnect with its essence, you will continue to transfer the same void to different places. The Stoic practice is a return to the center. It is to silence the noises, to listen to what you really need. Not what they said you should want, but what your truth whispers when no one else is around. Start today with sincere questions. What am I feeling now? Does this thought build me or weaken me? Does this decision come from fear or intention? Self-knowledge begins when you decide that living with purpose is more important than living pleasing. Do not expect the outside world to validate your path. When you are aligned with yourself, the universe ceases to be a field of war and becomes a mirror. And that's the first key. It doesn't open outside doors. It unlocks the invisible cell where you kept yourself, believing that it was reality that kept you. But it was just you, reacting instead of living. Number 2, the weight you load is not yours. Think of how many times your day has been ruined by a phrase spoken with disdain, a look through, an unfair criticism, an unanswered message. They are small external sparks that, without you noticing, light internal fires. And you spend hours, sometimes days, reliving what they said, what they did, what they may have thought. But what if I told you that the weight you carry isn't yours? Seneca left us a powerful key. Nothing offends us except our opinion about her. The phrase is simple, but she dismantles the whole theater of our reactivity. What hurts us is not the facts. It's the stories we tell about them. When someone insults you, you might ask yourself, why did he tell me that? But the most important question is, why did it affect me? The insult is just a stone thrown. You decide whether it hits your heart or falls to the ground without making noise. Reacting with anger, sadness, or resentment is not an automatic response. It's a choice. But most of the time we make that choice without realizing it, because we're conditioned to take everything personally. We believe that others have the power to validate or destroy us, and that makes us prisoners of their words. Stoicism offers you the way out. To regain the domain of your interpretation, return to being the author of the narrative. Because when you understand that your peace is your responsibility, no one else can steal it. This does not mean living in an indifferent or cold way. It means living with conscience. It means choosing not to allow the uter's poison to find shelter in you. It means recognizing that each person speaks from their own wounds, their own fears, their own limits. If someone attacks you, you may be imploding from the inside. If someone ignores you, they may be swamped in insecurities. If someone judges you, they may be projecting their own conflicts. That does not justify the behavior, but explains why it does not need to be carried by you. When there is a fragile ego, thirsting for recognition, hungry to be seen, any criticism becomes a threat. But when this ego is educated with humility and clarity, the words of others become just that, words. There is a fortress within you that has not yet been built. It does not rise with high walls, nor with heavy armor, but with the daily practice of not being shaken by what is external. This fortress is called integrity, and it begins to be built the moment you choose not to react, but to reflect. Every time someone tries to take away your peace, you have two options: to deliver or protect. And to protect is not to raise shields. It is to stay focused. It is to know that the other has the right to say what you want, but that you have the power to decide what you will feel. Imagine yourself as a rock in front of the tide. The water beats, retreats, tries to shape, but the rock remains. It doesn't respond to the sea. It simply is. This is what Stoicism proposes: to live firmly, not because nothing affects you, but because you have learned not to be affected by what does not deserve space within you. The world will keep trying to provoke you, but true freedom begins when you choose not to answer everything, when you understand that silence is also an answer, and that is often the wisest. Number 3, the enemy is in your head. Have you ever felt that silent weight that seems to grow even when everything around you seems calm? The restless mind that never shuts up, that repeats scenarios that did not happen, that revives pains that have passed, that whispers that you are not capable, that subtle but insistent voice that seems to be you, but it is not. The truth is, the greatest enemy of your peace has never been the world. It's in your head, and his name is fear. Fear does not enter through the front door. It comes sneaky, disguised as prudence, caution, common sense. He says he is protecting you, but is paralyzing you. He speaks as a wise counselor, but acts as an invisible saboteur. Stoicism reminds us of a lesson that the ancients knew well. The mind without government is the worst tyrant, because it does not need chains to imprison you. Just a recurring thought, a repeated doubt, a what if that becomes the rule. The story of Samuel, sitting silently on a park bench, is a mirror for all of us. He was not surrounded by real threats, but by thoughts. And that was enough for his life to be paralyzed. He had everything to act on, but acted only inside his own head. And there, the world was dark. How many times did you postpone something for fear of failure? How many ideas did you get on paper for fear of judgment? How many relationships were sabotaged for fear of surrendering? You were not prevented by external walls, but by internal bars. And here's the cruelest part. The mind, when out of control, convinces you that it's protecting you. It creates rational justifications for you to get away from pain. But in doing so, it also takes you away from life. And living is inevitably taking a chance. You don't have to get rid of fear. You have to leave it in the right place. Fear is a messenger. It's not a master. It can warn you about real dangers, but it can't stop you from walking. When you understand that, his voice can still speak, but you don't obey without questioning. The mind is like a room with many mirrors. If you get lost among the reflexes, you begin to believe that that is the world. But just turn on a light of conscience to realize that all those monsters were projections, not real threats. And that's what Stoics trained. Turn on that light, not to erase fear, but to see it clearly and move on in spite of it. Wisdom is not in eliminating discomfort, but in learning to walk with it. To master the mind is not to silence it forever. It is to know when to listen to it and when to follow it. It is to take back the rudder that you gave to automatic thoughts, often inherited, often liars. The practice is simple but powerful. Observe the thought, name fear, question the truth behind it. Ask yourself, does this thought help me or block me? Is this concern foundation or projection? Am I creating a problem or facing one? The difference between living and surviving is here, the way you deal with what you think. If you do not master your mind, it will dominate you. It will create mental prisons with invisible bars. And the worst kind of prison is the one where the prisoner believes is in freedom. Samuel only realized this when he heard the wisdom of a woman who had wasted too much time with her own ghosts. She told the truth that many avoid. Fears are not real. They are ghosts. And ghosts have no strength when you walk towards the light. The mind will try to protect you, but you don't need to be protected from the world. You need to be protected from hiding from your own life. And that only happens when you decide to face the only real enemy, the one who inhabits your unexamined thoughts. Number 4. The life you want doesn't build up alone. Have you ever seen yourself waiting for the right moment to begin? The day when motivation appears, when the body collaborates, when life finally facilitates. The human being has this almost naive habit of imagining that, somewhere in the future, circumstances will be more favorable. But the truth is simple, and the Stoics do not hesitate to say it. This perfect moment does not exist. Epictet confronts us with an uncomfortable truth. How long do you expect the world to settle for you? Adjust yourself to the world. That is, life will not be shaped to ease your way. You must adapt with courage, discipline, firmness of purpose. Discipline, in this context, is not rigidity. It is fidelity. It is commitment to what you say you want, even when enthusiasm disappears and the world seems to want to push you back. It is the silent gesture of those who appear for themselves every day, even when no one is looking. Those who hope to be inspired to act little. Because inspiration is volatile, ephemeral, daughter of chance. Discipline is a vow that you renew in silence. It is to wake up early even without will. It is to keep the word even without audience. It is to say no to the passing comfort, to say yes to a lasting transformation. The problem is that many people confuse living lightly with living effortlessly. And that is not what Stoics propose. What they offer is something much deeper: lightness that is born of structure, freedom that is born of constancy, peace that is born of alignment between what you think, feel, and do. To take life seriously is to recognize that each choice has a weight. Each yes you give to immediate pleasure is a no that you give to your own future. And every little effort you make today is an invisible seed planted in the soil of time, ready to bloom when you least expect. Imagine your routine as a construction. There is no magic, there is no jumping. There are bricks placed one by one. There are days when you will want to give up. You will think it is not working, it is not worth it. But it is precisely in those days that the character is being forged. Because the true value of the discipline appears when it is kept in the absence of any immediate result. It is easy to be constant when everything flows. The challenge is to be constant when everything gets tired. And that is where Stoics shine. They did not seek an easy world. They sought a strong soul. They struggled not to change the exterior, but to strengthen the interior. Epictet was an ex-slave. He could have chosen bitterness, lament, revolt. But he chose philosophy as a form of liberation. Not because the world became more just, but because he became stronger. He understood that waiting for the world to change and then start living is an illusion. Life happens now, in small choices, in repeated gestures, in commitments that you honor even when no one requires it. The question is, what are you doing today that honors your future? Because if you keep waiting for everything to be perfect, you may spend your whole life just waiting. Discipline is not a prison. It is the bridge between you and what you say you want. And crossing that bridge requires courage, requires constancy, requires saying no to the world and yes to your truth. And when discipline becomes part of who you are, you stop fighting with yourself and begin to flow with what matters. The world will not adjust for you, but you can adjust to live with integrity within it. Number 5, what you are missing. Maybe it is what is left. Have you ever felt that you are always running, always busy, always trying to achieve something that never arrives? As if there was a constant promise that, in front of you, when you have more money, more recognition, more time, then, yes, it will finally be possible to rest, breathe, be happy. But what if I told you that what you're missing maybe is what's left? Musonio Rufo left us a sharp truth like a blade. Happy life consists in living according to nature, and this is done through reason. And living by reason is not accumulating, it is discerning. It is not endless desire, it is understanding what is enough. What is left in your life today may be preventing you from seeing what really matters. The world trains us to always seek more. We are conditioned to run without asking where. We grow up hearing that the value is in the conquest, that love comes after approval, that rest is only allowed after success. But this logic is a bottomless hole. Because every time you conquer what once looked like the apex, an immediate new step is born, and the ladder never ends. Stoicism invites us to stop, to look around lucidly and ask, do I really need all that I seek? Or was I taught to want what doesn't belong to me? You accumulate compromises, objects, connections, expectations, and feel empty. Because emptiness does not come from lack. It comes from disconnection. When you turn away from what is essential to your soul, all that remains weighs. even achievements, even goods, even applause. Everything weighs when it has no root in your truth. To live according to nature, as Musonio Rufo said, is to live with simplicity and purpose. It is to know that the body needs little to be healthy, and that the mind needs even less to be at peace. It is to understand that excess does not bring comfort, only numbness. What would be in your life if you stopped measuring value by quantity? If you looked at your house, your schedule, your heart, and asked, what is so much here? What does this take me away from myself? Perhaps what you call progress is actually distraction. Perhaps what you call goal is escape. Escape from silence, from internal confrontation, the pause that reveals that you are already what you seek to be. Living with less is not living with limitation. It is living with clarity. It is knowing where your center is. It is walking without the weight of what is not yours, without the burden of what they expect you to be. It is having the courage to give up the superfluous to touch what is essential. The Stoic philosophy has never been minimalism of fashion. It is minimalism of soul. It is the radical decision to get rid of the noise, to listen to yourself, to abandon the excess, to rediscover the measure. And this measure is not external. It is not in the rule of society, nor in the numbers of the bank statement, nor in the reaction of others. It is in the serenity that is born when you finally say, that's enough. Number 6, you are not lost. You are sleeping. Have you ever felt as if you were living by inertia? Wake up, work, perform tasks, answer messages, smile when you need to, say that everything is fine. But inside something is off. A kind of silence that is not peace but absence. As if the soul were in some corner, lying, waiting for you to remember it. Maybe you think you're lost, but the truth is another. You're asleep. And there's an essential difference between these two conditions. Being lost is not knowing the way. Being asleep is knowing, but forgetting to look. The confusion isn't out there. It's in the mist that formed inside. Heracles, a Stoic philosopher, offers a powerful and direct key. The beginning of salvation is the knowledge of the errors themselves. That is, awakening does not begin with a great revelation. It begins with the courage to look sincerely, to recognize the places where you have abandoned yourself. Sometimes you have betrayed yourself in the name of acceptance, of custom, of convenience. This slumbering does not come with fuss. It settles down slowly. First, you begin to accept things that do not match your truth. Then, it silences old desires for fear of seeming naive. It abandons projects that came from the heart for lack of time, support, courage. And when you realize, it is living a role that is no longer yours, fulfilling a routine that drives you away instead of approaching. Stoicism is not a call for you to change everything at once. It is a serene reminder that you can come back to yourself, for what really pulses on your chest, for what makes sense without needing applause. But for that, you have to admit, something has been lost. And this thing, almost always, is the contact with your own conscience. You may have become an expert in pleasing, solving, keeping everything working, but perhaps you have unlearned to listen. And anyone who does not listen to yourself falls asleep. Slowly, without visible pain, but with a profound consequence, living becomes survival. The Stoic philosophy does not call us to heroism. It calls us to lucidity. It says, observe what you think, what you feel, what you choose. Observe your repeated actions, your automatic justifications, because it is in this field that you live the chance to wake up. To ask yourself, am I really choosing my life, or just reacting to what I have been given? To wake up is not to break up with everything. It is to return to inhabit the body with presence. It is to walk down the same street, but with another look. It is to do the same things, but with another intention. It is to wash the dishes by listening to yourself. It is to answer messages without betraying your own rhythm. It is to say, no, where before you yielded. It is to say, yes, to what you long ago postponed. And yes, it's uncomfortable to realize where you've gone wrong, where you've lied to yourself, where you've left yourself out to fit. But Heracles is right. That's when it all starts, because the pain of waking up is always less than the pain of sleeping. Maybe you think you need a big change, but the awakening rarely starts with an explosion. It comes as a breeze, a mild nuisance, a desire to stop, to breathe, to question. And if you hear that call, life begins to reorganize around that new presence. Waking up is becoming dangerous because when you wake up, the system that awaited your silent obedience is shaken. The relationships shaped in your absence begin to crumble. Fine, but what is born in return is precious. Integrity, clarity, courage. You're not lost. You just forgot you could come back. And now, maybe for the first time in a long time, you've got your eyes open before you. Number 7. Saying yes to the world is saying no to himself. How many times have you said yes, meaning no? How many times have you yielded for fear of sounding selfish, for fear of disappointing, for needing to feel accepted? Gradually, almost without realizing, you go out of your way. You go away from your voice, from your will, from your center. And when you know it, you become a hostage to the image that others make of you. Arian, disciple and compiler Epictetus's teachings, clearly translated the root of this abandonment. Nothing is more miserable than the one who is always at the disposal of others. Being available to everything and to everyone may seem like virtue, but it is often a disguised form of emotional servitude. It is the vice of pleasing as a way of existence. And the price of this servitude is high. You lose yourself. We live in a culture that glorifies responsiveness. Reply fast. Always be online. Answer immediately. But what seems to be efficiency is often just lack of limits. An exhausted heart trying to stay whole while it is broken into pieces. Stoicism teaches us that we should not belong to the world before we belong to ourselves. And belonging begins with borders. Saying no is an act of presence, a gesture of internal fidelity. Not a no rude, but a no serene, firm, clean. The no of those who know that there are things that do not fit anymore, that there are commitments that do not honor their truths, that there are requests that violate their rhythm. You don't have to justify everything. You don't have to apologize for choosing to take care of yourself. Emotional maturity flourishes when you understand that respect doesn't beg. It settles. And if someone only respects you when you give in, that someone doesn't see you, just sees the usefulness you offer. How many times has your schedule been filled with obligations that are not yours? How many conversations have you held out of pure formality? How many meetings have you accepted even knowing you wanted to be somewhere else, or yourself? This excess of yes, of constant availability, of forced presence corrodes. Eats little by little your peace, your energy, your clarity. You begin to live at a pace that is not yours, in a script that you did not write, on a frequency that exhausts you. And the cruelest thing, you begin to feel guilt when you try to come back to yourself. Guilt is the mechanism of the system that wants you obedient. But Stoicism breaks that cycle. He says, come back. Collect your attention. Claim your inner space. Stop giving so much to the world while you give yourself so little. You did not come into the world to be useful. You came to be whole. And the usefulness, when it happens, must be a consequence of your completeness, not a requirement that disassembles you. Being good is not always accessible. Being generous is not being permissive. Love is not constant sacrifice. It is conscious choice. Think of a leafy tree. It gives shade, fruits, beauty, but it also imposes its limits. No one can rip off its branches with impunity. No one requires it to bloom all year round. It has cycles. It has structure. It has firm roots. And so it can offer so much. Be like this tree. Offer when you can. Collect when you need it. Refuse when you need it. The no you say to the world is often the deepest, Yes, you can offer your soul. Freedom isn't just doing what you want. It's not doing what you're violent inside. And that freedom starts when you stop living to please and you start living to honor. I sincerely hope that this message has been helpful. I sincerely want to congratulate you for coming this far and completing the video. That means that you want to improve as a person. If you liked the video, leave your comment. If you don't know what to say, comment gratitude. Then I'll know that you've watched until the end. If you're not already on the channel, what are you waiting for? Sign up now and join us. Stoicism is full of teachings like this, which are applicable to our everyday life. Therefore, I encourage you to continue learning about this philosophy. I leave here 2 videos full of Stoic wisdom so you can continue learning. Until next.